Brazil, rise up. You guys did it. Let's talk about I'm Still Here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage. Gerald here with you, of course. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for quite a while after seeing the movie I'm Still Here back in November initially. And when it got a surprise nomination for Best Picture at the Academy Awards last week.
I'm Still Here. Nominees to be determined.
Guys, paperwork. Let's go.
Coupled with Fernanda Torres gaining traction this award season after not only being nominated for the Golden Globe for Drama Actress, but winning that award, and then riding that all the way to an Academy Award nomination for the same film.
And the Golden Globe goes to Fernanda Torres, I'm Still Here.
I knew I had to finally sit down and record my video on this movie. Now, in my cold open, I jokingly shouted out Brazil, but I will tell you that I don't know if I've ever seen a more passionate and energetic fan base for their international film and how it's playing here in America than the fans and folks that I've met online and that I've seen in my comment section from Brazil. I gotta be honest with you, the passion is infectious. I'm already going hoarse talking about the Academy Awards every year for like 2 or 3 months, but seeing that level of intensity from that fan base just makes me want to get out here and do more predictions, see more awesome international movies. I just really want to thank all of the people that have been tuning into my videos lately, a lot of which are either from Brazil or are a huge fan of this Brazilian film that we're going to talk about on this video. I'm Still Here is a wartime political drama true story based on the Brazilian dictatorship when Brazil's military rose up and essentially overthrew the government, and they were in control with an authoritative dictatorship from the mid-1960s until the mid-1980s, nearly 20 years. They were under this dictatorship in Brazil. So it's actually fairly recent in terms of history. Therefore, I found it crazy that I didn't personally know that much at all about this story. So my first thing that I want to say about the movie I'm Still Here is it does that brilliantly, where it educates you on a very tumultuous and honestly probably a difficult time for the Brazilian people to reflect on, while also entertaining you on a dramatic level that will eat at your soul. A lot of that soul eating that I speak of comes at the performance of Fernanda Torres as Eunice in the film. She's the mother figure. She's the matriarch of this family. I want to say there's 5 children of varying ages in the household. Being that this is based on a true story and it pretty much replicates the history that it's pulling from, it's not that I can necessarily spoil the movie, but I will stay away from certain plot points and twists that happen throughout the story. Torres and her husband Rubens in the film, who plays a congressman that essentially is kidnapped or taken hostage by this dictatorship in Brazil for essentially trying to continue with the normal government, which of course they're trying to overthrow. Several other ambassadors and congressmen alike were kidnapped over this period of time, and he got caught up in that and unfortunately was taken away from his family, essentially in the middle of the night in his home. From there, what the movie becomes is, frankly, a picturesque story of the struggle for survival in a uncertain world, in a very uncertain Brazil for this character that Fernanda Torres is playing. She is trying to keep her family together while at the same time dealing with this grief and anxiety, wondering where her soulmate, her husband, the father of her children, is and when he's coming home. I mentioned this a little bit on one of my predictions videos that I just did recently, but what I think Walter Sellis, the director here, does to amazing effect and why I connected with this movie so much is because he shows us those tedious, everyday family interactions. There's a lot of scenes in this movie with the family playing on the beach, whether it's volleyball or swimming in the ocean. There's some really beautiful, poignant, tender moments with the father before he disappears, and some of his children. One of his kids loses their first tooth, and they bury it in the sand. It's a really cute scene. They find a stray dog on the beach. They're taking photos. They're having family and friends over for dinner. They're dancing to old vinyl records. It's a lot of normal, this is my family, these are my siblings that I love, and it's our little village here. And in a short amount of time, maybe the first 20 to 30 minutes of the movie, Celis really sets that up for us and does, and like I said, an amazing job of connecting me to that family unit. I felt like these two parents, Torres and Rubens, portrayed by Salt and Mello, were great parents. I really felt that as I was watching it through the first half hour of the film. There's a point in the film when it changes from kind of like a fun family reflection to this wartime political danger zone, especially for Torres and her kids. There's a lot of hard scenes to watch where she's being questioned about her husband, as is her eldest daughter. There's a scene in this movie that I knew this movie was going to mess me up, and anybody that's seen it will know what I'm talking about. But it's in that early portion of the film, in that first half hour or so, when one of the daughters leaves with some family friends and moves to London. She's a huge Beatles fan. She collects records. They love, the punk rock scene of that early 1970s, late 60s. Once she's in London, she sends back a videotape that they had been filming on the newly invented camcorders, along with a letter. And she says to her dad, who got it in the mail, read the letter as you guys are watching the video. It'll correspond with what you see in the video. Nothing has happened yet from a negative standpoint in the plot of this film, but the buildup for me as a viewer and the connection that I had to this family, and on top of that, having kids of my own and a wife, and having a daughter that just recently graduated from college and moved a little bit further away from me, it affected me, man. It was like I was in the living room watching my daughter send me those home videos, walking on Abbey Road, listening to the Beatles, and it just paused everything for a moment, because in your mind you're going, something bad is going to happen, and I know the story. I know it's not going to go well. At least for a period of time, it's not going to go well. But Celis and everybody involved in that scene specifically just locked in. And I was emotionally invested going forward to anything that happened to, frankly, any of these characters, namely Torres as the mother. The rest of the film, after he's abducted, is her trying to deal with that, but trying to raise her family. And also the battle for justice. Her character goes on to get a law degree with the expressed intent of finding justice for her husband and others like him that disappeared during the military dictatorship. We fast forward to the end of the film, much like I said with the effect that one scene with the home video had on me. The elder version of Eunice at the end of the film, fast forward several decades, she's a grandmother, maybe even a great-grandmother at this point, is portrayed by Fernanda Montenegro, who is an absolute diva, queen, Hollywood royalty legend. And that's Fernanda Torres' real mother. And there's just something special about that. There's just something special about the connection and the ancestry and the handing down generation to generation, especially when we're talking about art and the arts. And this is acting, of course, but this is an important story that they're telling us. Like I said, I didn't know enough about this story, and I'm sure people from Brazil, especially from that era, for sure know about it. But I am glad that this movie exists for the reason of teaching me a bit of a history lesson too. But seeing Montenegro there at the end of the movie and seeing these archival, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. Seeing these archival footage of what happened, X number of decades ago, and seeing her husband's image on the screen, which she hadn't seen him at that point, probably in 30 or 40 years. It's impactful. It's extremely impactful. It wraps the movie up to kind of show you what this lady, this mother, did to make sure that everybody that she was responsible for didn't suffer because of the tragedy that they went through in the late 60s, early 70s. And the sacrifices that she made, and how her life changed like that. And her goal in life was to provide for her children and their children. And she did that. And she's an absolute hero because of it. And the movie portrays that brilliantly. Torres is out of this world phenomenal. I have proof. I have receipts. Back on November 22nd, I'm going to switch and kind of start talking about the Oscar race with Torres real quick to wrap up the video. Back on November 22nd, I put Fernanda Torres in my Best Actress predictions for the Oscars. That was over 2 months ago. I feel like a genius now because of what I said, but I honestly thought I was kind of crazy. I hadn't seen her pop up anywhere at that point, I don't think. But I saw the movie much like, and this is obviously a completely different performance, but much like when I saw Ariana Grande in Wicked, when I saw Torres, when I saw Grande in those films this year, both of which were in November, by the way, I came home and I put them in my predictions. That never happens. It happened twice in 1 month. I just felt something from her portrayal and from her performance, on top of that being a true story and being something that should be spread from, the importance factor of that history of that. And I put her in my predictions. It was number 10, but I put her in there. She kept climbing. I kept her in there. She kept climbing. Other people started predicting her. She made the Golden Globe nominations. Brazil rose up, and, we did it. I mean, she is now nominated for an Academy Award. I think the hill is really high for her to climb to get there, but she's there. The movie being nominated for Best Picture last Thursday is something that everybody that covers the Oscars will tell you was easily the most shocking announcement of the morning. I loved it, obviously, but man, that was like a honestly grassroots surgence. It was surging at just the right time from an international standpoint, and it happened at the right time. A Real Pain missed. Nosferatu missed. September 5 could have been in there. Guess what? It was I'm Still Here, this little Brazilian international film from Sony Pictures Classics, which, by the way, they have a great campaign strategy usually, so I'm not too terribly surprised they're the studio behind it. I am pulling for this movie. I am pulling for Torres. And I talked about this on my predictions video too. There's so many movies in the Oscars race this year that I love a bunch of them. Anora, Dune Part 2, The Substance, of course, Conclave, even Wicked. I mean, and of course I'm Still Here. There's a lot of movies that I dig that are in the race this year. This is kind of the little movie that could, it's the underdog for sure. I do think it stands a great chance at international feature. And if you follow my channel, you know that I do not like Emilia Perez at all. I don't even know what to say. I'm not going to cover the 13 nomination thing again. I think it's really crazy that it has that much praise for it from the Academy and so far this award season. But nonetheless, here we are. But I do think that I'm Still Here could upset an international, which would also be huge for me because then it would hurt Emilia Perez's chances. They would basically vanish at that point to win Best Picture. So the path kind of opens up for some other movies, including I'm Still Here. At the end of the day, I think I'm Still Here is a feat from an international film perspective that you need to seek out. There was a lot of great international films that came out last year. And here in America, sometimes we have tunnel vision. I used to be that way too. When I started getting into movie reviews and the awards season, I did start expanding my purview, but there was a time when I was like American, English, not anymore. There's so much good stuff. I used to do my ratings out of 100. I recently changed that. I don't do that anymore. I just do it out of 10, and I don't really give 0.5s either. However, the reason I say that, because I would probably give this an 8.5 if I gave 0.5s, but I'm going to give I'm Still Here an 8 out of 10. It is one of the best movies of the year last year. And of the ones I saw, it is tied with Evil Does Not Exist, a Korean film. It's tied with that one as my favorite international film of the year too. Please seek it out. I know that it just started playing in limited theaters across the country this past weekend. And since it's a Sony movie, I would assume it would be coming to streaming in the next month or so before the Oscars air. I am so happy that the voice for this film is being raised because of its involvement this award season. please check out I'm Still Here, especially if you have any kind of interest in international cinema. What did you guys think of I'm Still Here? Whether you're from Brazil or not, please let me know down below. Are you excited to see this movie when you get a chance? Are you excited or kind of freaked out that it got nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards this year? I think you guys know where I stand. Please let me know down below. I'll see you soon. I'm going to be teaming up with my buddy Jonathan Fuji. We're going to be doing a nice collaboration for award season probably this weekend. So look for that on the channel. I'll talk to you guys soon out here in the garage.